Hello, folks out there in WKNI land. Welcome to What's Up, Andalusia. This is Brother John. I got my steady cohort over here, Jared, our producer, director, cameraman, and editor, son Daniel over there. And today we've got a special guest on What's Up, Andalusia, and that's Mr. Rick Clifton. And the nice thing about having Rick up here is that there's at least one professional up here behind this counter, and it's not me.
I thought you were calling me Rick Clinton there for
No,
a while.
no,
I don't know where that came from.
You want to kill me now? Or I didn't bring my knife, but I know it's sharp. I'll go in a hurry. Rick Clifton is a kind of he's a real asset to our community, and a lot of people don't even know who. They may know who he is, but they don't know what he does. He's been an attorney here. He's got a strong background in business development, corporate financial law, that kind of stuff. He's worked with bond issues and all kind of stuff like that. But what Rick is the president and chief executive officer of the Covington County Economic Development Commission. And we're going to talk about what that is, but I'd like to kind of give you a background on who Mr. Clifton is. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Alabama. That would be in Tuscaloosa,
yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
Well, they got those other campuses. He holds a Juris Doctorate from the Cumberland School of Law at Samford University, and an LLM in taxation from the University of Alabama. Rick's also had some military experience. Thank you for your service. He retired as a colonel in the United States Air Force Reserves and served as the staff judge advocate general at Maxwell Air Force Base and Gunner Air Station in Montgomery while on active duty. Rick's been in the Covington County area over 30 years, and he's been active in a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, you've been active on a lot of committees and a lot of civic responsibilities. This is kind of a county-wide thing, but it's a little bit different kind of it's not quite a fish and it's not quite a cow. It's a different kind of thing. But he we had a great visit, I think, last week. It was great for me. I don't know. I hope
I enjoyed
good for
it.
you as it was for me.
Enjoyed it. It's a shame we couldn't have taped that. It'd probably be a lot better than this
Well,
one.
it would have been at least a lot more fun.
Yes.
But anyway, he's a local guy, and he does an awful lot of stuff here, and he's gone a lot because of that. Now tell us what exactly. I know what it is, but tell the audience what the Covington County Economic Development Commission is.
Well, the commission was formed a number of years ago by local businessmen that wanted to promote Covington County.
Right. What a great place to promote.
And there was nothing really in place to do that. And so we set up the Covington County Economic Development Commission, brought in a president and CEO at the time, and it's kind of continued from that point. The initial contributors to the commission were the local banks, some of the local businesses, and also the utility companies have been a big contributor. That's kind of changed actually now, our big contributors that allow us to do what we do are the utilities. Power South, Covington Electric, Southeast Gas are our big contributors. And then the local entities also support us. We get support from Andalusia, from OP. The county provides us with some support. We also get support from Florala, some of our smaller communities, Florala, Red Level, River Falls, Samford. So we get support from a wide range of the community, and we try to market and advertise things for the whole county.
And that takes you to a lot of places sometimes, doesn't it?
It does, and what we try to do is to go to events and sponsor events that's going to help promote what we're trying to do in the county.
Right.
there's no reason for us to go to some event that's not going to translate to something that's realistically going to come to our county.
Right, I agree.
So we've developed a kind of a target list of industries that we go after. Aerospace one, because probably our biggest asset that folks may not know about, they know of it, is our airport.
Gosh, we got a great airport for a
And,
town our size.
We have people that fly in and out of the airport all the time for different reasons, some for business here, others for just stopping over. And everyone that stops said, you know, what a great asset. What a first impression that is for our
Well, y'all
community.
can take heavies there. I mean,
Oh,
big
yeah.
airplanes, and you know that's not true with a lot of rural airports. I mean, I know you know that. That's one reason we've got the big hangars there. But
Well, that's what happened is that we had a contract, and the community stepped out on a limb for that big contract for those hangars, and because we got the hangars, we got a runway extension, and
Right.
that runway extension now allows us to land 747s, 737s, bigger airplanes than most of your general aviation airports. So we've got it's a real gem. It's one of our main recruiting tools because if nothing else, it allows folks to get in and out of here into our community a lot better than they can other rural communities.
right,
So, and it's a real Jed and Misty, Jed Blackwell, Misty John. They take a great care of the facility, and it really is a big asset. It's one of our biggest assets for economic development.
Well, I've got a couple of buddies that are IPs over at Rucker, and it's amazing how many times they manage to file a flight plan that puts them here at lunchtime.
Well, lunchtime on Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday in particular.
Friday is rib day, so you'll see a lot. One of the things that's helped us over there, the airport used to be subsidized by the community. Now the airport is self-sustaining because of the government contract that the folks
Right.
at the airport negotiated. So they sell in a good year 1 million gallons of fuel to the government, and that sustains the operation of the airport.
Well, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, the way a lot of this stuff gets paid for, Rick's kind of a mystery to a lot of people out there.
Right.
And there are impressions and there are misimpressions. And sometimes I get the impression that some of the folks in the community think that thing's, well, if it wasn't for all the support from Op, Andalusia, and everywhere else out there, that place would just close down, and that's not the truth.
No, the operation is self-sustaining. Now,
Yeah.
what a lot of folks may be talking about is that the financing for the hangars, both hangars, the twin hangars and the helicopter facility that Vector was located.
Was using, yeah.
So those, and that is, the financing of that is above and beyond the operation of the airport.
Right.
And that's the community has assumed responsibility for that.
But the community's also gained a lot of revenue from that too.
They have, and we're working hard to make sure that revenue stream continues with having somebody in both of those facilities that'll offset the debt service for the cost of the hangars.
Well, you know, I'm a big believer in understanding where the money comes from and goes to, and you know, you have the cost of the lease on the hangars, but you know, if you've got somebody that's offsetting that, then whatever they pay for utilities or for, unless there's a, you know, some type of negotiation.
Maintenance, repair. of
Maintenance,
hangars,
repair,
insurance,
utilities, insurance, and the jobs that they bring. And people that usually work on airplanes are not making $7.50 an hour.
That's a very highly paid occupation, and that's what it's about. That's what they were built for, was for attracting jobs. And quite frankly, the airport is what separates us from other small rural communities. And so aerospace is one of our targeted markets. Automotive is another one of our targeted markets. We're right on the fringe of Hyundai. With a tier 2 supplier here.
Supplier.
With Seihei-san has been here. Seihei-san started in the old spec building out at the industrial park and has expanded, I think considering another expansion. And
well, y'all were instrumental in getting that here, though.
Yes, yeah, our office worked very hard to get that one.
Do you know how many people they employ now?
About, I think they're about 120.
120.
So it's that's been a real success story because Seihei-san has done nothing but meet all of their promises that they've made over the years as to employment, as to expansion, and so they're really doing a lot for the community, and they're one of the real success stories, I think, for our office.
Well, I'm just doing some quick figuring on Seihei-san. You don't realize this. That's a big business for Covington County. If they're on a weekly payroll, and just some average numbers there, but if they're running a 40-hour payroll, and they run more than that, most of their people end up with 10 or 12 hours of overtime a week from what I can gather. And that means that we've got about they're going to do about $700,000 in payroll in Andalusia.
Easy
a year, and that's just for the rank and file.
Well, and what they've done is they started out, like I said, in the spec building, and they brought over parts from Korea.
Yeah.
And then put those parts together with. They started out with robotics here, and so they put those parts together, and then send them to WASSUP, I think, in Greenville.
Greenville, yeah.
And then Greenville sends them directly to Hyundai. So that wasn't efficient enough for them. So they said, "Can you build us a facility so we can do the stamping here?" So now they make the parts there in the facility, put them together, and a tier 2, tier 2 sends it to tier 1, tier 1 sends it to.
Yeah, I don't know that I can explain it in just 30 seconds or less here, but almost all of the manufacturing that we see in automotive business now is based on the Japanese model, which was actually developed by a guy named Deming from the United States. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he went over there after World War II because the economy had been devastated, and all they thought they could make was little tin toys and umbrellas. And they allowed him the license or whatever to build it the way he wanted to, and he came up with what they call Kanban inventory, which is what y'all are working with, which is bring in today what I need today and bring it in tomorrow what I need tomorrow.
Well, they call it real-time delivery.
Yeah, but it was a Japanese word for it was Kanban.
Yeah.
Or that's American, probably bastardization of it. But anyway.
But that system has worked very well.
Does beautifully.
And it allows the Hyundai not to maintain a big inventory because they bring to them like you said, what they need every day. One of our biggest things though is manufacturing, and that's another one of our target industries. That's probably our biggest industry in the county, one of the biggest in our region, and the prime example of that, our star is Shaw, and we have just recently completed all of the paperwork having to do with the Shaw renovation and expansion, and
how many dollars was that?
Well, it's 1,100 jobs that they have right now, and the renovation and expansion is not going to add jobs per se.
Just add efficiency to the people that are there. And that gives you job security.
Well, they're going to be here for a long time because this is a $250 million expansion. And what we found out at the Industrial Development Board meeting the other day, Ron Fantroy, the plant manager, was with us, and what Ron said this is the largest expansion in the history of Shaw, and they did it here in Covington County. So that's really impressive on any number of levels, with the local folks working with the state folks to put this together.
And
$250 million. That's a huge
another way to
investment.
express that is $250 million.
Right. Exactly.
It sounds even more impressive when you got a B by it.
Well, with that has cemented our manufacturing employment base, not just for Andalusia or Covington County, but that draws people from all of our surrounding counties. So we've got that base in place now. I don't have to worry about that one.
Yeah.
So we've got that base in place, and now and they're looking at additional expansions right now.
Right.
So I mean, so it's an ongoing thing that we're going to be doing, and Shaw is really kind of our it's kind of our bell cow.
Your flagship, whatever
exactly,
you want to call it. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's having that in place was crucial, really, to our local economy, because that we can grow from that. And that, again, is what separates our community. If you think about it, what small rural communities have a 1,000-person manufacturing facility. We have headquarters, Power South, Southeast Gas, Covington Electric,
Andalusia Hospital,
Andalusia Hospital here, Mizell Hospital. We have 2 hospitals in the county. What small rural community has those type of assets? And that's what we try to promote and sell when we go to events. We've been to, like I said, those are the 3 main ones: aerospace, automotive, and manufacturing. And we've been, and we try to attend events that promote those, and hopefully what we can do is let people know what Covington County is all about.
Rick, thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to take a break right now. We need to. I'll be back shortly with Rick Clifton. Welcome back to What's Up, Covington County, Andalusia, and places around here. With Brother John. I don't know what a 68-year-old white man's doing using a title like that, but we can thank Brother Don Cotton for that epitaph for our show. We got Mr. Rick Clifton here. Rick Clifton is the CEO of the Covington County Economic Development Commission. He's also the president of that there organization, but he's been a lot more than that. He's worn a lot of hats. He's got a lot of paper to back up what he's doing. He's a lawyer and
recovering lawyer.
The tax, you've had a great deal of experience in tax law and that kind of stuff too. The very, very well-rounded retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force Reserves, and he's come to Covington County. I came here about 30 years ago, and he's done an awful lot, I think, for the county. I know that, one of the things that you claim, and I think this number is low, is that you've helped to generate over 700 jobs in the county, and I think it's probably more like 1,400, but
that's an old bio.
Yeah, well, I was going to say
that was right. So we need to update that.
Yeah.
But, John, one of the things I wanted to mention too is our target industries is agribusiness, because Covington County is a huge agricultural community.
Yeah.
Agribusiness means everything from forestry to food products to cotton and everything that comes out of the ground. Covington County has a strong history and background for that. Of course, our forestry background with the Dixons is
that's that's almost international.
That's legendary.
Yeah,
and what they've done with the Dixon Center.
The foundation's been extremely generous to the community.
So, and we try to go and promote Covington County. We are the marketing arm for Covington County.
Right.
And we try to go and promote Covington County at events. I want to tell you a story. I know we're getting long-winded here, but I
No,
want to tell you,
we've got time
tell
right
you a
now.
story. We put together, this was 2 years ago, we put together a group that went, and we had someone from Power South Economic Development, from Alpha, from the state, from the Conservation Service. We brought in people from all around the agribusiness industry
Right.
in the state, and we went to a conference, a food processing conference in California. And we got out there, and the guy from Auburn said, you know, this is the first concerted effort we've had to market agribusiness in Alabama. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Agribusiness is the #1 industry in the state.
Yeah, it is.
And it's almost by default, because we're not doing anything to market it, and we're not doing anything to promote it. So we're trying to market and promote what we've got in Covington County and let people know. Just going out there, we said we've got cheap land and free water, and people's eyes lit up, because in California they don't have cheap land, and you got to buy the water.
Yeah, it's
So
what they recall that is what, riparian rights.
Oh,
they say they say that in this century, riparian rights may be the most active part of the law in these United States because of that.
But we've got to. Nobody's going to tell your story if you don't get out and tell it. And like we talked about before, you know, you can sit there by the phone and wait for folks to call you. You know, there's going to be cobwebs growing on your phone pretty much. So
well, yeah, you can put an advertisement in the Wall Street Journal, and maybe somebody will read it. But that's, and I'd say that not to make fun, but I know that in the past that was long before you came here.
Yeah.
That was our idea at Andalusia's idea of going out and trying to draw someone to the county,
right.
you know, and it would have been better than to say, you know, we got the cheapest labor and the cheapest land, come and build what you want to, but they wanted, you know, it was never handled that way. And I'm glad that the South as a whole has escaped being a place where the big thing we're known for is the cheapest labor.
Right.
That is economically what bailed us out after the war between the states, but that's a bad prospect for the future.
Well, one thing that I try to tell people too is, of course, everybody wants immediate results.
Yeah.
They want, and economic development is not an event; it's a process.
Right.
And it's you know, you're in it for the long haul, not for the short haul.
Right.
Seth Hammett told me, he said, yeah, we got Airbus in Mobile. He said, we started working on that 9 years before.
I was going to say, I thought it was 10, but
9 years. 9 years, because they did it. They got the tanker contract. That was contested, and they lost the tanker contract. Came back because of that relationship. Ended up with the commercial side. And we think we got the best deal.
I was going to say that was going to be absolutely the best deal.
That was a 9-year process. Now, if initially somebody would have said, well, they're not coming here, I mean, and said, well, you need to drop that, then we'd never gotten to where we got. And so it's a long, drawn out process, and immediate results are very, very rare.
And what, believe me, I've been in sales and marketing for most of my life, and it always, whenever I had an immediate result, I knew that there was going to be another shoe that dropped, because there was something I didn't know.
Something else.
You're going to, I'm pretty good, but I'm not that good. Where's the hickey in this thing?
Right.
But what I want people to understand is, and you understand this, as people, is that if you've got a 9-year process, there's no single business in town, not even Shaw, that's going to wait 9 years to produce a benefit. So the only thing that is left is to form quasi-public entities like yours that get funding from people that have the money to be patient.
Right. Exactly.
And so, and as business, as I see it, gets more and more complex, even agribusiness, which is complex already, people don't realize it. But as business gets more and more complex, I feel that two things will occur, and you tell me if I'm wrong. One of them is that development time that you're talking about may extend, but the other one is that once they make that commitment, as opposed to in the past where they could pick up and go because the commitment had been short term, they're going to be like Shaw. We're going to have to look at that as a long-term investment. I mean, that $250,000 investment at Shaw, when they started working on that?
Oh, yeah, it's been 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, they actually started working on it when they first got Shaw to come here.
Probably so.
I mean, because we've got a good relationship and founded that relationship and kept it going forward. Andalusia's been a huge beneficiary. And that was, the community's had a big part in that, but the people in the community that have made that happen have been mostly public servants.
It's because of the workforce too that
Right.
Shaw has.
Yeah.
That gave them confidence in bringing it here. And one thing that folks need to realize, and I'm not complaining because I'm this is what I want to do. But economic development is hard work, and economic development in a rural community is very hard. And here's what you got to look at, John. You've got so many projects in the world. You end up with so many coming to the United States. You end up with so many come to the Southeast. You end up so many coming to Alabama, and then you end up with so many, in Southeast Alabama, and then you get down to,
Covington County. I mean,
and so that funnel gets pretty tight down at the end. And so, but that leads me into where we are right now. And right now we have more active projects in the office than I have ever. I used to be the lawyer for CCEDC, so I knew some of the things that they were involved in. But right now we've got, not including Shaw, 8 active projects in the office. I never remember. And now I don't know what it's from. I don't know if it's from, the economic stimulus, but we've got 8 active projects, and that doesn't include the activity at the airport on the hangars. And so we've never had that many active projects at one time. Now,
can we break for just a minute? We'll come back. I want you to talk about these 8 opportunities. Welcome back to What's Up, Covington County. What's up, Andalusia? What's up, this part of the world? I got Rick Clifton here. I'm not going to introduce him again, other than to say he's a friend of mine and an asset to the community. He's with the Covington County Economic Development Commission, and he is the CEO and the president of that, and he's trying to help people find jobs here. When we left a minute ago, we were talking about what the prospects for the future are, and they sound pretty bright.
Well, they do. Like we were talking about, we have 8 active projects. Right. I tried to sketch these out, but I think if these hit, the capital investment would be like Shaw, be over $250 million, and the employment would be over 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. So are we going to get all 8? No. There's some that we are very much in the running. There's some local expansion that people are interested in expanding. We're going to get those, but we have some very big projects, some food service projects. We have manufacturing projects. We've got a distribution project. We're actively talking with the folks at Sitel about getting the call center back up. People don't realize that the call center, that was over 300 jobs when it closed.
Right.
And that was and that hit not only local, but they had 10% of the people that worked at Sitel that came from Connecticut County. Mm-hmm. So, while the starting pay wasn't great. They had benefits, and those benefits led people to drive in 45 minutes, 30, 45 minutes to go to work at the call center. And so those are jobs that we need as options for people that need benefits and are interested in that type of work.
Well, you know, and the other thing is when you look at what jobs pay, some of it is because that's what the job is. But a lot of it's also because of the labor force that's available. And an economy that is, you know, stretching the available labor force, is, at least that's what the statistics indicate, you're theoretically, and I think realistically as well, the cost for your labor goes up.
It does, and right now we're at one of our lowest unemployment rates. I think we're down to like 4.1.
Nationally?
Locally.
Locally?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a little higher than that, but you would know, I wouldn't.
Yeah, so it's gone down, and so, and that's for a number
It's gone down 2 points in the last year and a half.
Yeah, so there's a number of reasons for that. But what we need to do, and our county needs to be a viable option. It needs to be a viable option for people coming in and expanding, and it needs to be a viable option for people coming in with a new business. And then we need to be a viable option for folks to come in and live to support those jobs that we need. But you know, if you're not a viable option, if you're not an attractive option, John Thompson with the city said, you know, pretty counts. You know,
and it does.
If you've got
quality of life issues, that kind of thing, are big when you've got somebody that's looking at your community.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of times when you go and you're courting a company, you're not only courting the president, but you're courting the president's spouse, because those folks are the people. They want a nice place for their employees to work, or if they're going to relocate, they want a nice place for that. So it's vital that, and that gets us into retail too, because we do retail recruitment as well. And Andalusia has become a retail center.
Yeah, it is.
For our region. And sales and restaurant sales have just boomed over the last 5 years. And so I think they said Zaxby's had one of the highest grossing days in their company.
Yeah.
On a Friday in September. I mean, nothing special going on.
The oh gosh, down here by the pizza place, Tropical Smoothie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Set records for the entire company when they opened up.
Well, I remember driving around the bypass, and there was and traffic was backed up all the way to the turn signal there, right at Zaxby's,
mm-hmm.
and traffic was backed up all the way going south. And I said, "Oh my gosh, we've had a wreck," you know. And I turned. It was the opening of Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And they had to have police
out there
to direct traffic on the opening, and so what that leads me to believe is that we eat out in Covington County, and we eat out a lot.
Well, they say that 40% of the meals anymore are eaten out.
Well, you know, and retail generates taxes, and the taxes enables, you know, Andalusia, Op, Florala to do things that they need to do for the community. So,
right.
So retail is a big thing. You know, if we go to a retail show, we come back and said, "Who'd you bring?" And I said, "Well, I don't know that I brought anybody, but I've established contacts with folks.
Right.
That I'm going to develop those contacts, and then when they're ready to move into our part of the country, they'll know to contact me."
Well, I've seen, you know, I'll just use the term because but for fast food establishments, but I've seen, you know, hamburger joints or chicken joints take 5 or 6 years to develop from the time the initial contact is made until the decision is made. And you know, of course, part of it is nowadays, if you get involved in that, that's a multi-million dollar investment that you're going to bring into the community, and that's got its own benefits there.
Right.
But the development of it, but you know, if I were spending $1 million, I'd take my time.
That's right. Well, and it does take time to develop those relationships. What's funny is that if we go to an aerospace event, I'll contact the people that I've contacted at the last one that we went to, and it's a moving target because a lot of those people move around to different.
They move different organizations within their field.
But the point of that is, if you made a contact with somebody and he's with this company, that company's not interested in moving to the community.
Right.
He moves over here, that company may have an opportunity that they want to come, and he'll remember our relationship and remember what assets we've got out of the airport, and maybe that'll generate into something. If you're not, I'll tell you a story. Ed Short is the chairman of our commission, and so he's told me before. He said, Clifton, he said, I want you to go to these things. He said, you may not get anything out of it, but if you don't go, you sure won't get anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we go, and that's why our funding is so important, that it enables us to go to these events. We get some marketing funds from Southeast on behalf of Andalusia and Op. We use those to promote different events and different marketing efforts for Andalusia and Op. And then, but without the marketing, we sit there, we go turn the lights on in the morning and cut them off in the afternoon, and that's
kind of like going to a dance. You're not going to get anybody to dance with you if you don't ask them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to respond well to you long distance.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot to be said about looking somebody in the eye and talking to them,
absolutely.
and them getting to know you and
measure you and you measure them.
That's right. And so I think that makes an impact. And wherever we go, what's funny is that you make contacts at the most bizarre places. I mean, I've met more people at a reception a lot of times than you do at the show itself.
Can we stop for just a minute and come back? Sure. Thank you. This will be our last section. Welcome back to What's Up Andalusia. And what's up, Rick Clifton?
I tell you what, it's just good to be upright.
Isn't it, though? Well, we were talking about what you've been you're doing in the community. I want a lot of people to understand that we have been the benefit that we should have learned in the 80s when the Alitex left and Michaelis Mills closed down in left, and everything went offshore. And that up until that time, Covington County, Andalusia, Op had pretty good little economies, and both Op was very, very competitive with Andalusia population, industrial development, everything like that. And then Andalusia got lucky when we got Shaw, or we were good or whatever. But thank you, Lord, for Shaw and locating it here. But you never have these long historical memories of what's good for a community, and that's unfortunate because the old heads die and they can remember the Depression. And in Andalusia, you can remember the Depression and you can remember the 80s if you were paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
And the lesson for that ought to be that you've got to constantly be on the search for more business and industries and jobs for your community, because there's no telling when one of them's a paradigm's going to change or something like that. I don't think we had any idea that the Alitex was as close to closing as it was when it finally closed.
Well, John, let me tell you, this you may know this, but Sitel was 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Sitel, when I moved to Andalusia, of course, our law firm did work for people all over the county.
Sure.
It was a long distance call from Andalusia to Op.
I know.
you know. So, and then we had the football, and we had all the, you know, the rivalry going on.
And it was great.
And so, and it still is. But Sitel came along, and again, I hate to quote my boss here, Mr. Short. When we were trying to put Sitel deal together, he said, again, Clifton, there's 1,000 ways for this to go wrong. You find the one way that it'll go right. And so what happened is the county, Andalusia, and OP came together and worked together on that project. And you know what? That's the first concerted county effort that we had that I know of.
I think
And that
you
was
would be
15
right.
years ago. And the point of that is Andalusia's not big enough, OP's not big enough, Florala, our smaller communities aren't big enough. The county's not big enough to do some of the things we're trying to do. But if we come together,
Right,
we can build a ballpark like Kiwanis Field
right.
with a county, city, Kiwanis Club effort. We can build Sitel with county, Andalusia, and OP. We can build the hangars with Andalusia, OP, and Covington County. So, you know, that's 15 years ago. We had no cooperative effort at all. And now we realize that we can't do it by ourselves. We've got to work together because, you know, Gary Smith, you know, CEO of Power South, Gary said, you know, rising water floats all boats.
Ships.
It
That's
floats
right, in
all
the harbor.
boats. He said, you know, what's good for OP is good for Andalusia.
Right.
And what's good for Florala is good for the county.
Right.
So we've got to work together, and that's what we try to do. We try, and there's been some trying times, and folks get upset with us and don't necessarily agree with how we're trying to do things. But we've got to keep it together, because without a concerted effort, we can't market and promote our county the way we need to.
Well, you know, now this is not going to happen in my lifetime and your lifetime unless we get incredibly lucky, but in time, and it's going to be in less time than people think, it's going to be one continuous corridor from Andalusia to OP.
Well, I think you're right. That four laning, that just really opened everything up.
Absolutely, and you're going to see development down there, and it's going to be smart development. You're going to see restaurants and more hotels, and you're going to see shopping in areas like that, because you can draw from both directions. You know, it's business does not function well in the cul-de-sac. It does on a through road.
That's right. That's right.
And
and we're seeing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You know, there's stuff moving out. There may be some more development. If we can get Sitel back open out there at the airport, you know, we get some more development out there. We've got property and opportunities out there. We just, last year, the industrial park in OP and the industrial park in Andalusia are called advantage sites. And they've gone through a litany and a very lengthy and expensive process to become an advantage site, which is EDPA, Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, has certified these sites as, quote, shovel ready. And so that's not every industrial park has that. So we redesignated OP last year, and we just got through redesignating Andalusia last week.
great.
And so we're ready for industry. What we've got to do is to get out there and let industry discover us, and that's what we try to do. So,
Well, Rick, we're going to have to draw it to a close today. I hope it's been a good interview. It's been fun for me. I've
enjoyed it.
But we thank you for coming in, and I'd like to extend an open invitation to you as you have announcements or that kind of stuff. You send it to our email, or just come over here and get on the show and tell people about it, because people need to know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, and we don't do a very good job of it, to be honest with you. But my predecessor, Tucson Roberts, what Tucson said, he said, you know, I could go to every civic club every city council meeting, every county commission meeting. He said, but that's gonna take me away from what I'm trying to do.
Well, that's right.
And so we kind of take for granted that folks know and appreciate what we do, but they don't know, and I hope they appreciate what we do, but they don't know all what we try to do.
When you got a small footprint and you're trying to make a big operation, it's oftentimes hard to remember your internal customers because your external customers are so large.
That's right. That's right.
And you know, y'all do an awful lot with a thin group.
Yeah. Well, there's Jacob Morgan and I. We hold down the fort. We've the group in front of us, Tucson and Gail Davis, Gail Trant. A lot of y'all know her as Gail Trant. They did a great job in laying the groundwork for this. He was there 10 years. You know, I don't know if they're gonna keep me for 10 years, but
well, I hope so.
well, enjoy it, and you do things because you think you make a difference. That's what that's why we keep doing it. We think we make a difference.
That's right. Well, Rick, thanks
Appreciate you.
again, folks. We'll see you later, Gator.